Welcome back to the King's Report for January 22nd, 2018. Tim Elder and Richard Panzer in for the second King of Chanuguk. And we are now also joined by Hermann Resinger in Austria. He has just returned to Austria from Lausanne, Switzerland, where he was participating in the Arms for Defense conference, where the second king spoke. And we've been looking for someone who could give us a report on that conference, and we have come across Hermann, who is able to do that. So, Hermann, can you hear us there in Austria? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, Hermann, why don't you just go ahead and tell us about your experience at the conference that took place in Lausanne on Saturday. Go ahead.
It was around 100 people on this conference.
Okay, good.
So it was a very historic place where this conference took place. It was on the Centre Guisan. He was the general of the Second World War for the Swiss army.
Go ahead, keep talking.
There was people from whole Europe was participating, and we tried to have few official political people to come, but for them it was very difficult to participate because this topic is in Europe very difficult to talk about.
Can you explain that to us? So why is it difficult for political people to talk about gun rights in Europe? What is the background there?
The background there is that they, as political leader, have promised not to make statements about these kind of things on a public place in a public conference. This was actually the background.
I see. I see. It's very different from America.
Yes, it's very different. So in Europe, we cannot very simply speak about this topic.
So what were? Can you tell me what were some of the topics that were presented at the conference? What were some of the?
So sure. First, Hyung as our king, he was speaking about the philosophical and biblical perspective of natural rights.
Yes, we heard that. We heard his. We were able to get an audio file of his presentation, and we played that during the Sunday service yesterday.
Yes. So it was a very official thing. So it was not so emotional, but it was a very, very interesting speech he gave. Second was the Christian Seeburger. He spoke about the freedom of defense in Europe. Yeah. Then Elsa Ellison spoke about the constitution question, who should own the use of the lethal force. And then Renate Regassi spoke about the Swiss situation, and she spoke a letter from a Swiss lawyer who don't want to say his name. She could not come, this lawyer, because she was sick.
I see.
But this was very interesting about the Swiss situation.
I see. So a Swiss lawyer wrote a paper, but
Yes.
could not reveal her name, and so Renate Regassi read her paper for
So
her.
Renate Regassi, she's a good friend of mine, and she had this contact, this lawyer, and this lawyer gave the letter to her, and she spoke about.
I see.
Yeah.
Can you tell us some of the countries that were represented there? You said they were from all over Europe.
Yes, so sure, I'm from Austria, we are German, Swiss people, then Denmark, Finland, Portugal, England, France, sure, Czech, Slovakia, I don't know, but Czech and Slovakia, and I think this Italy, sure. My wife is helping me, thank you. Italy, and yeah, these are the most sure. Then from Scotland, and sure, then America. You know.
I see.
Yes. So many countries.
In America, we had heard that Mr. Malaire Pratt was going to attend. Did he attend?
Yes, he attended, and he gave a speech about, and he was very exciting about this conference because, first of all, he had a very good time in Swiss together with his wife, and he was very happy because to see people who have with such emotion and dedication to speak in Europe about this topic. So he was very, very happy attend this conference.
Oh.
He went also, he spent many time together with Hyung also, but maybe Hyung will speak about this later. They went into sightseeing on Sunday, and they went to a bunker, and I think that, but it was very exciting.
I see. So on Sunday they went to a bunker.
Yes.
So I know the king was very interested in the Swiss bunkers. He even at one point wanted to stay in a bunker. But God led him to stay in a hotel.
But the point is, many bunkers where you can stay in Swiss already give to refugees and immigrants.
I see.
So they stay there, and this is, and some bunkers became a hotel, and this is not so easy to organize this in a certain short time.
I see.
And in winter.
I see.
Yeah.
What was your impression, your personal impression of the conference?
My personal impression of the conference, it was the microcosm is moving the macrocosm. So actually in Europe we have this kind of conference. I don't know if it was ever happening. So it was a very wonderful atmosphere, and this, especially we know and we felt all that it was a historical event for Europe, for the freedom in Europe, and for the right to carry guns. And it was for us just to understanding that it was a very historical moment to have this kind of conference on such historical place where this general was living. This was the house of the Swiss general.
Do you think that this conference will lead to bigger things? Any changes in Europe in terms of its of gun laws and freedom for people to exercise their natural right of self-defense?
Yes, I think so, because I think we have to do a spiritual condition, and this conference was somehow a spiritual condition. And we know if you do in this kind of providential situation, you do something, it will affect the outside world. I'm very sure. And we have in Europe now many governments who are not actually against the gun rights of the citizens.
That's right. We've heard that Hungary, I think, right, Hungary, Czech Republic and Hungary are kind of leading the way in this respect, aren't they?
Yes, right. And also now in Austria, for example, the Minister for Internal Things.
Internal Affairs,
the Internal Affairs. He was asked by the media because in Austria more and more people are buying guns, and the media asked him, is he afraid that the police get a problem because Austrians can buy so many guns? Then he said he has no problem at all. He don't think this will bring in danger the police. This is his statement. So this is very important.
It'd be interesting to see whether a larger or increased number of guns in Austria leads to an increase or decrease in the crime rate. I would predict that it would lead to a decrease in violent crime in Austria.
Yeah, the point is that you have a problem. If you defend yourself, you can get in trouble.
I see.
So we have cases in Austria, for example, a policewoman. She was defending herself because she got somehow raped or sexually assaulted by an immigrant, and then she got the court case because she defended herself. So she got troubles and problems. But I think with the new government, this will change.
I see.
they will change these things. Yes.
Yeah, more and more people are demanding freedom and sovereignty, and demanding the ability to exercise their natural rights.
Right. Yes. Because step by step, people waking up, and the election we saw that the people wake up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Austria now has a very young prime minister, right? Or is it prime minister or
Right.
chancellor? Yes, and
He's the youngest.
the youngest, yes,
Europe.
31 years old or something like that.
31 years old. Yes.
What is his position on gun rights?
He never made a statement about the position of gun rights, but I know all the hunters in Austria, they elect his party. Mm-hmm. They are a fundamental vote people of his party. Mm-hmm. Is the people who want to have self-defense, they voted the Austrian Freedom Party. Mm-hmm. So actually, this coalition is very good for the Austrian gun rights.
I see. Good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then let me ask you about the situation in Germany, where I guess Chancellor Merkel finally looks like she's going to be able to form a government after 4 months. We see in the headlines this morning that the SPD is going to agree to work with her on that. Do you think that Germany will? What direction do you think Germany will go in terms of gun rights?
Yeah, German, sure, they're on the wrong track. So German with this is the old government what come back, what they had before. Right, actually, yes. The Socialist Party from Germany, they promised not to go in a coalition again because they lost so many votes. So, but you know, the left, we know they have all times a real desire of power, and Merkel and Schulz, these are really European unity. How I should say, one of the main people of the European unity. So they are not happy about the Austrian government or Polish or Czech or all the. So they are the mainstream European unity people.
Right. Yes,
so it will not be very good for Germany.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, Merkel is the one who's trying hard to strengthen the EU and strengthen the power of the EU to impose EU laws on other countries. But I think countries, especially I don't know if Austria, but yeah, Austria too, right? They're really more and more rebelling against this central power from Brussels, isn't that right?
Yeah, we have two mainstreams in Europe now. We have one mainstream who want to have a central Brussels European community who dictate everything over the nations, and we have people, nations like Austria, Czech, and they want to have a European community, but with sovereign nations where nations can main things like financial things or something, they can decide by themselves.
So a weaker union.
Yes. This was actually the European plan from the founding fathers of the European community. They wanted to have sovereign nations of Europe, but not this kind of centralized European community where it comes now.
But now it's turning into very much of a, and the king describes it as a Soviet Union of Europe.
Absolutely, yes.
And that's what it's transforming
because
into.
70% of the laws what are made for the European nations are made in Brussels.
70%? Is that what you?
Yes, 70%.
Wow. That's amazing.
So even you have now a conservative government or a more government who want to be more sovereign as a nation, they cannot even be sovereign anymore because they have to adopt the laws what made by the European community. So Britain was the best way to go out, and now they can decide by themselves.
Yeah. Even the French President Macron, there's an article this morning saying that if the French people were to vote, they would probably vote to leave the European Union.
This can't be possible because the European people, they don't like to be also controlled of the centralized government. But, in Europe, we got the border between the nations. We don't have borders. We have the euro as a money. So it was very comfortable. And this is for the European people, they was very happy about this. We don't need to show the passport when they go to Germany or somewhere. We have one money together. Actually, and this actually is very comfortable for all the Europeans. But on the other hand, this is a big trap to say now, yeah, if you are not sovereign, if you're now sovereign nation, you get the passports back, you get the borders back, you have not anymore one money and all these kind of things. So the comfortable things, the people are afraid to lose. So because the European people are very in conflict. Actually, we want to have a united Europe. We want to have a wonderful Europe where the nations can stay together. But in this way, they destroy Europe. Because European, they want to have Italian people. European want to have French people. Because all these nations represent a certain character of the European people. You know, if you mix up everything is the same, this we don't want.
So maybe they could try something like, I don't know, the Cheongguk Constitution. Where also in Cheongguk there's no passports among states, and there's a common currency. You can have a common currency, although states can also have their own. They can also have trade, use gold to settle their debts, but you can have a common currency, but no central bank. And also the sovereignty of individual states and families within the states is guaranteed. So maybe the European Union needs to try the Cheongguk Constitution. That might work better.
Yeah, we have to go on and make advertising for this constitution.
Yes.
Freedom is people want to be free. People don't want to have borders actually, but if you have border and a welfare state, you have problems.
Yes.
This doesn't work.
Yes. So let's have a constitution that does not allow the central government to become involved in welfare.
Right.
That's also the Cheongguk Constitution.
Yes. Yeah. This is the best we can have. This is the Cheongguk Constitution. Yes. We have to have the people now to accept the king, and this is. But on the other hand, many people, also in Austria, they have a very good feeling about the king. We had with them a king.
That's right. And Austria was the center of the Habsburg Empire, yes.
Right. And we had not just negative experience about this Habsburg. You know, socialists coming and leftists coming, they all times try to bring negative things about this. But many people, you know, kings make culture. Kings bring culture because I don't know, you understand what I mean?
Yes.
Because it makes the people under one sovereign power. And this gives the people the feeling of home. The people are feeling of we are one. The people are feeling we are one people in the nation. So I think the king can be a very, very nice,
Actually, the New York Times had an article not too long ago, within the last 2 weeks, that about they're playing up the advantages of a monarchy, pointing out that countries with monarchies tend to be more stable, tend to be richer. Those are two of the things that they brought up, and they actually interviewed the descendant of Tolstoy, who was saying that what the United States needs now is a monarchy. This was in the New York Times. I don't know the exact date, but we covered that article a couple of weeks ago. So maybe more and more people will start to realize that a monarchy is important. Father said that democracy is like two siblings or siblings fighting each other in the absence of a parent, and there needs to be the representative of the parent on the earth, the true parents on the earth, to bring stability and to guarantee people's rights. The parent and the father and mother in the family can guarantee the rights of the siblings, even the youngest sibling. If the older siblings pick on him, he can go running to mommy, running to daddy, right?
Yes. Yeah, I understand.
so that the monarchy can serve that kind of a role. But the important thing is the monarchy cannot have executive power, or not much, very little executive power, which is the case in the China Constitution. The monarchy, the king basically acts as a judge, where he can receive appeals from the Supreme Court. So, let me ask you this: in the recent conference, how did people react to the idea of Hyung being the second king of Cheongguk? Was there any reaction to that? Did he wear his crown? I want to know, did he wear a crown?
No, he did not wear a crown.
He did not wear a crown?
Okay. No. Maybe in Europe they put him in prison. I don't know. No, this was a joke.
Not that crown, but he has other. He has the headband crown that he wears at Sunday services.
No, he didn't have. He didn't have a crown.
But was there any reaction to his being king?
No, there was not. About this topic, we didn't talk. Nobody was thinking about. Anyway, he don't wear a crown, so nobody was thinking he was a king.
I see.
This is the point. So, but I know the guests who came from America, they had no problem with this. Yeah, and but he led a very wonderful impression to Europe. He was a very loving person, and people liked him. And for example, Larry Pratt, he loves him, he likes him so very much.
Oh, very good.
For me, this is for me, what is meeting also very important for to create a deep relationship between the gun owners of America and Hyung.
Okay.
This is I think this was for me, not just for Europe, a very important meeting, but also for America, a very important.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We'll be getting more reports from our king directly when he returns, and we'll be getting reports from other people as well. Hermann, I want to thank you very much. We still have a few articles that we need to cover before we go off this morning, but I want to thank you for taking the time on very short notice, very short notice, to come on and give us a report. It's been very informative, and we appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. See you.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you. All right, let's take a break, and we'll come back, and we'll be covering a few more stories when we do.